My name is Latasha Wilson with the Oklahoma State University Library. Today is October 30th, 2007, and I am in Stillwater, Oklahoma at the campus of Oklahoma State University in the Angie DeBow room interviewing Joanne Lawrence. This interview is being conducted as part of O State Stories, an oral history project of the OSU Library. Thank you for joining us today, Joanne.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
I was honored.
Well, we're glad to have you. Let's start off with you telling me a little bit about yourself, where you were originally from.
I'm a Yankee. I was born in New Jersey, Asbury Park. People refer to that area as the shore. So out here, somebody asks where I'm from, I usually refer to the shore. And then they know it's anywhere between Atlantic City and New York City. And when I say I'm from New Jersey, they say, "Oh, New Jersey." And I said, I didn't talk like that. I may have talked funny, but I didn't talk like that. And as you can tell, I've been out here way too long to keep that accent. I did have it, but we moved out here when I was in 7th grade. And so I've been out here a long time. I guess I'm an Okie now.
And what years did you attend OAMC?
Oh, I started in the fall of 1948, and I graduated in 52, but I was up here for another year because my husband, it took him a little longer, and he had to graduate in 1953. So we were students, and then married students, and then townspeople. So.
And what made you decide to attend OAMC?
I had gone to Nykolaiszyn High School in Oklahoma City, and a lot of the students there were coming up here, even though Oklahoma City is that other school's popular. They're popular down there. Some of them were going there. But a lot of the students were coming up here. And I didn't want to go away to girls' school. My father was suggesting that, but I like boys too well for that. So I did enjoy coming up here to OAMC.
And then you ended up meeting your husband here.
No, I brought him with me.
Okay.
There's a really neat story that I didn't put in there. It might have had a little something to do with me coming to Oklahoma A&M. I went through summer rush. My parents sent me back to New Jersey to get me out of all of that furor, but I came up, went to Rush, and pledged Chi Omega. I did not know that Bob Lawrence had pledged Sig Ep, which is right next door. And so we had dated some in high school, and he had taken me to church most Sunday nights, and so I was really surprised, pleasantly, to find out that he had pledged the fraternity right next door. They're not next door anymore, but they were then.
What was your major?
Home economics, but I was in household arts and enjoyed it very much.
What are some of the classes you remember taking?
Oh, well, I did have to take all of the home ec required courses, including chemistry, which I didn't do very well in, but I enjoyed specifically Wathena Temple's design and the household arts, the various, I had to make a scrapbook of all the different types of the history of furniture and various times. And that has been very helpful to me. Oh, I took a psychology of color. Actually, I took that course with Bob to meet a requirement. Um, some of the other courses that I took. Do you want to know about the funny one?
Sure.
I took dairy. I didn't know that it involved going out to the dairy barn. I thought it was going to be in the dairy building where you learn to make cheese or ice cream or something like that. Butter. Uh-uh. We went out to the dairy barn, groomed the cattle for the cows. I'd never been that close to a cow in my life, but the professor was very, very nice and thoughtful. I think there was one other girl in this huge class. It was a large lecture hall, and then you had the lab to go out to the barn. That was quite an experience, but it was a requirement of home ec to have an agricultural, and my counselor, who I do not remember her name, she suggested dairy. So I took it, but that was it.
Do you remember any of the buildings your classes were in besides the dairy
my.
barn?
Yes, I actually think I had a psychology class at Old Central.
Really?
Uh-huh. And the home ec building was the old home ec building. They built the new one later. The old home ec building, I had a number of courses there. And again, it was very convenient because it was right across from Gunderson Hall, and that was where the architects on the top floor lived practically. I think both of those buildings are gone now. I haven't checked it out, but I think they're both demolished. I've been amazed at the growth of the campus. I really have. We've been up. Oh, we had season football tickets ever since we graduated. So I've been up frequently to see the campus growing, but it just amazed me. Today I got here a little bit early, and with my grandson we drove around a little bit. And he questioned me, "Did you have a car when you were up here?" Of course not. Nobody had cars. It was just after the war, and cars were hard to get. And besides, students didn't have cars then, so there was no parking problem like now. And I let him drive me around Stillwater today because I would not have found my way that easily where we were going. It was fun.
And did some of your children attend OSU?
Yes, our daughter graduated from OSU, and she majored in sociology, psychology. And as I mentioned, my grandson is here now, majoring in business and enjoying it. I guess I'd have to describe him as Joe College. He loves every aspect of it. Yeah, he does. And so.
Tell me a little bit about living in the Chi Omega house.
Well, I had to live in the freshman dorm my first year up here, and that was an experience for an only child because I had never had anyone to share a bedroom and the bathroom. And well, let me back up to say I stayed in the second floor of Murray Hall. That was the freshman dorm. All freshmen had to live there. And I guess it was a little crowded because instead of 2 girls in that room, there were 3. So it was bunks and 1 lower bed. The 2 girls that I roomed with were both from Tulsa. I didn't know them ahead of time. And it was an adjustment for an only kind of spoiled child. But the next year I did move into the Chi Omega house, and it was not as lovely and large as it is now. And I don't know if I should mention or not, but we had to sleep in a double bed. 2 girls to a room, in a single double bed.
Really?
And closet space, you can imagine, was at a very minimum. And so you only brought a few things up, and then when you went home, you brought some others and exchanged, or there just really wasn't room. It's lovely there now. I brought my little granddaughter up to kind of ease her into the college scene and show her how really pretty the house is now.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember social activities involved with your sorority house?
Well, of course, we had our dances, dance hour that you had to go to the various fraternities, and that wasn't a whole lot of fun, I didn't think. I liked dancing, but to go around to strange places, I didn't like that too much. Occasionally, I would go over across the street to the frat shop, which was owned by Bernadine Brock and her husband. They lived upstairs, and the downstairs was just a little, well, you wouldn't call it a restaurant. It was just, you could go over and get a cup of coffee or maybe a roll and very minimum, maybe a hamburger if you wanted. And the other thing I do recall, since this is football season, we had to dress up for football. We wore heels and hose and, of course, a dress or a suit. And usually, if we were lucky, we got a mum corsage to wear to the football game. And it was a dressy occasion to go to the football game.
Did you sit with your sorority sisters?
No, not necessarily. You could sit wherever you wanted to sit. And often my parents would come up, and I could sit with them.
And were there activities for homecoming?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We would have a parade in the morning. When I was a pledge, I had the honor of putting on very dark makeup and wearing a sarong and riding on the Chi Omega float. And I was worried sick that it was going to win, because then later at the football game, they would have the floats go around. And I didn't want to have to get all undressed, dressed, all that dark makeup off to do it. But it was, yeah, we didn't do it as elaborately as they do now. But, yeah, we still had the homecoming parade in the morning and enjoyed doing the floats. I don't think we did too much on house decorations. But
have you been back for a number of homecomings?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. As I said, we've had season football tickets, I think, ever since we were out of school.
What about your house mother in your house?
Well, we had, I remember two of them. The first one was Mother Lou, and I don't remember her last name. We just called her Mother Lou.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was Mother DeArmond. And it was interesting that she was the mother of a girl I had known at Nykolaiszyn High School. And she came up and became house mother after her husband passed away. So I knew her ahead of time. Not well, but I knew her at the end.
And what about a curfew? Do you remember when the curfew was?
Well, when I lived in the freshman dorm, I had to, as I think, we had to be in by 8 o'clock. I'm not sure. I think it was about 8. A little later on the weekends, maybe 10 or 11. When we moved to the house, my sophomore and junior years, it was probably a little later than that, but not a whole lot. I'm sure we had to be in by midnight on the weekend. no later than midnight.
And would you study at your house or at the library, or?
They had study hall every day for the pledges. So my first year, if I wasn't in class from 3 to 5, I had to be at the house studying. Usually I had a lab, so I didn't have to study down it was in the basement of the house where they had the study hall. I didn't have to do that too often, but that was the requirement. And you mentioned the library. We didn't have this lovely library. We had a very small library on campus. So I didn't come to the library to study.
Did you do your laundry at your sorority house?
No, I think I probably took it home. I probably went home. I think we were allowed to go home, about once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall until after I was married going to a laundromat up here. I don't think we had a washer and dryer. I know we didn't have a dryer. No, there was no laundry facility at the house.
What types of activities or on-campus organizations were you involved with?
Well, I had to look that up because I didn't really remember too much, but I was in the home ec club, excuse me, and enjoyed that. I was participating in that quite a bit. Omicron, which was a home ec group. I later was tapped for mortarboard and Phi Kappa Psi, Phi Kappa Phi, that was it. And let's see, what else was I in? YWCA, probably. And as I've mentioned before, I was active in Chi Omega. Actually, I was what we referred to as pledge mistress. I think they refer to them as pledge trainer now, but that took a lot of time because you had to keep up with all the new girls and make sure they were doing what they were supposed to do.
Was that a hard task?
No, not really.
What is Phi Kappa Phi?
It was an honorary organization, similar, because we didn't have, I don't know if they still do or not, maybe they do, Phi Beta Kappa. It was similar to that.
Okay.
It was scholastic.
Do you remember any campus traditions?
Not really. Not really.
Do you have memories of Theta Pond?
Oh, yes. One tradition, I guess, would come along with Theta Pond is when the boys would pin a girl, they'd get thrown in Theta Pond. That was a tradition, I guess. I think somehow Bob escaped, but that was one. My memory of Theta Pond was, I was up here so long ago, it was just beginning to be developed. And the trees, the landscaping, all of that was just, the little magnolia trees were probably no taller than that. All the trees were just brand new. And the walks, I was telling my grandson just today, the walks all across the campus to get across Theta Pond, or, in that area, were gravel. Great, big, coarse gravel. I said, I think we laid all the foundation for the nice walks that they have now. Theta Pond is beautiful now, but it was pretty minimal then.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, it was pretty, but it was just starting. And so I do remember that.
Did you go to the student union often?
There wasn't one.
Okay.
I was here when they were building it, and by the time I was a senior, it was brand new, and I remember Miss Temple taking us over to see the decor, how they had done each of the rooms, and explaining what what style furniture it was, and so on and so forth. So, but it was brand new. We did not have a student union.
What were some of the on or off campus hangouts?
Well, as I mentioned, the frat shop.
Mm-hmm.
There was one theater, the Leachman, and I think there was another theater, I can't remember the name of it, at Campus Corner. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the Leachman building is still there on Main Street, but I don't believe it's still a theater. I don't know. I don't know if they have a theater now. But anyway, I didn't go to many of the hangouts. I was too busy.
Yeah.
I really was. I was just too busy. And so.
What would you do for dates? Would you go
Well,
out
usually there were parties to go to, either to that fraternity house or that was usually, or the girls would have the guys come to a party. That was the way it usually was. I suppose we went to the movie occasionally, but not too often. Money was kind of scarce. It was not, I mentioned in there that if we had to get someplace in a hurry, and a bunch of us would load in a taxi, and it would cost 10 cents a piece. And I was telling my grandson about that today, and he said, "Now, what would that be equivalent to today?" And I said, "I have no idea, $1.50 or $2. What would it cost? I don't know." But we would get in a taxi, just pile in, be 10 cents a piece. So.
Did you usually eat at your sorority house?
Oh, yes, we did. And now there was a frozen malt shop about halfway to town that I really enjoyed for a treat. That might be what we would walk to it and get a frozen malt and walk home. We did a lot of walking. We didn't have cars until after Bob and I were married. Then we had a car. But by that time, I was working, and that came later. I won't get ahead of my story.
Well, after you were married, did you live off campus?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I wrote down that was my most, how did we put
your
that?
most significant experience.
Yes, that was the most significant. When I got pinned, I got engaged, and then I got married. The last day of school, we were married of my junior year. I had one more year, and Bob had 2. So anyway, we made it. I worked for Dr. Millie Pearson in home ec education, and I did that. And he worked one summer for Phil Wilbur, who was the college architect, and it was hard to put the timing there together.
Mm-hmm.
But we lived on McElroy, which today the little duplex that we lived in is gone for the athletic campus that they're building. So.
Were you married in Stillwater?
No, we were married in Oklahoma City because both of us and our families were both there.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember when the name changed to OSU?
I really don't remember. I think they sent me a letter and said I could get my diploma changed, but I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I brought the regular diploma that says Agricultural Mechanical College. Yeah, right.
Were you opposed to the name change?
No,
or?
not at all. Not at all. But I did keep my diploma the same way.
Yeah. Is there a faculty member or class that you remembered played a big role in your life?
No, not specifically. I enjoyed all of my home ec teachers, and well, I Dean Patchen was very, very nice. I remember her. She was Dean of Women. I guess I knew her through the mortarboard connection. And also Bernadine Brock that I mentioned before. I think she was her secretary.
Mm.
So I kind of had a little bit of a closer relationship there. Dean Leela O'Toole, I believe that was, yeah. She was Dean of Home Ec after Dean Talbot. And she was very, very nice. I enjoyed her. I think she's the one who hired me to, well, they were trying to establish a home ec library and get some books that the home ec students could go and not have to come to the main library and sort through. Because as I said, we didn't have this lovely big library building. And she hired me for, I think it was about 50 cents an hour. It might not have been that much to sit in there and keep track of the books or check them out or whatever. I was the only one. And it gave me an opportunity to do my homework. And so it might have been her way, in retrospect, it might have been her way of giving me a scholarship. For 50 cents an hour, I don't know. But anyway, I appreciated it. It helped. Yeah.
What is it about Oklahoma State that sparks such loyalty in students and alumni?
Just the whole campus. When I brought my daughter up to enroll her a number of years back now, we pulled in behind the building, and first thing, someone said, "Hello, may I help you?" They were pleasant. Lugging those books over today, I had 3 different people say, "May we help you?" with a smile. And as we went across the campus, any place, it's hi or hello with a smile. And to me, that goes a long way. Everybody is pleasant and not too hurried to help one another if they need it.
What advice would you give students today?
Come and get a great education. I think they would, and I think they would enjoy it just as my grandson is doing right now.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to discuss that we haven't covered?
No, I don't think so. I think we've pretty well covered it.
Well, thank you for
You're welcome.
coming today.
Very
and
happy to
letting
be
us
here.
talk to you. And we can look at some of your photos.
Okay.
First, we need to sign the deed of gift.
One more question, if I may.
Please.
So you'll have to re-end, okay?
Okay.
All right. What was graduation like for you?
Oh, for me,
Mm-hmm.
well, at that point, my parents came up, and of course they were very proud. Neither one of them had gone to college. My mother had taken some courses at Oberlin in Ohio. She was from around Cleveland. My father only had an 8th grade education, but had been very successful in the retail business and actually had his own store for a while. So the fact that I had made it through 4 years, even though I got married and graduated and had done, pretty well in the grade situation, I think they were really proud. And I don't think I have a picture of them, but I know they came up and we had a good time.
Where was the ceremony held at?
Ooh, I want to say what is now Gallagher Hall, I think. I'm not sure. I am not sure. Because everything has changed so much. Even though I've been coming back all this time, it's changed gradually. We were talking with a friend about the Quonset huts that were on campus. I had chemistry in Quonset 3, way out. And we, as I said, we walked to those places. We had to get there. There weren't the number of bicycles, and we certainly didn't have the number of cars that they do now. But I remember a lot of the Quonset huts, as I said, it was right after the war, and they couldn't get the buildings done. So.
Was it hot or cold? How's the temperature in the Quonset huts?
Hot. I mentioned in there after I first got married and living in this little duplex that we rented from a house mother. I learned to go grocery shopping, and I spent, I think, $20 a week. I would bring home my sack of $20. I kind of remember that. And then learning how to go to the laundromat and come home and do my ironing, and no air conditioning. All we had was a little floor fan. No air conditioning. It was hot in the summer because we stayed up here all summer so Bob could work. Yeah.
And did you move after he graduated?
Oh, yes. We moved right back to the city. His father also is an architect, or was, and he went to work in the firm. Actually, they did a couple of buildings up here. So it's kind of neat. Yeah.
Now, what would you go on to do with your career?
Well, I became a homemaker. Figures. But more than that, I had taken like children's literature. I had taken some art courses. And as I mentioned earlier, I had taken psychology of color. So I worked my way into helping my husband, who now is, he is the firm, and I'm the other part, and I would choose the colors for buildings. I would help him in that way. And with the children's literature courses that I took, or the teenage psychology, it's helped me all through. And I even took some business courses, thankfully, because after my children were grown, I went back and was a secretary in several different places. And today, I am my husband's secretary and do all the computer correspondence or reports for him that he needs done. So it has, it's been a very helpful degree. Whether I never did actually go into fashion merchandising, which I thought I might because my father had a ladies ready to wear store, but that didn't really work out. I was more into homemaking and making a home. So that's just the way it was.
Well, thank you for talking with us today.
You're welcome.